Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike, I didn't come up with any nicknames today for some reason. Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
If you have been smirked, stared, or smiled at by a MAGA hat wearing child, contact us today. You may be entitled to compensation.
First and foremost, allow me to thank Grassroots Kava House for the kava that I drink on this and every episode of the Muddied Waters of Freedom.
And allow me to thank Kroger for my delicious, purified drinking water. Bulavanaka.
Bulavanaka. So, now that we have our own law firm,
yeah,
our very prestigious law firm,
wildly successful,
wildly, insanely successful law firm.
Right.
We should probably tell all of our listeners and viewers a little bit about Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
Right. So I made a stupid meme on my phone. Most of our stories start with me making a stupid meme on my phone.
Accurate.
And I put it together, and it said it was a stock photo. It was an actual ad from a law firm, and it said something about whatever they were advertising. And I cleared all that out and wrote, have you been stared at by a MAGA hat wearing teenager or something like that, or by a kid wearing a MAGA hat? You may be entitled to compensation. And it had, for free information, it had their phone number on it. And I almost left their phone number, and then I thought, you know what, let's not get sued.
That would have been hilarious if you left their phone number and we ended up.
Yeah, and then because that no way that would have ended poorly.
No.
And so I'm like, let me just put, and so I'm like, well, what number? And I didn't want to put like 555 or whatever. So I'm like, screw it, I'll just put our the number for our show. And so I put that there and didn't really think much of it, and it got a bunch of shares and a bunch of likes or whatever.
All right,
and
you ready, lawyer?
Or are we getting a call?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for calling Wright and Cohen, attorneys at law. How may I help you? And they hung up.
You know what? I mean, if you're going to make the call, then commit to it.
I know, commit.
Commit to it.
Commit
we're
to
trying
the
to help
call.
you guys here.
So
we only get paid if you win.
Right. So literally, since he made this post, the phone number that we have for this show, people are calling it and leaving me messages. And these the messages are hilarious because they're like, oh, we want more information on how we might be entitled to
money, right?
Yeah, entitled to money.
It was funnier when you didn't know what was going on.
I had no clue.
And you're like, why are they writing me? Why are they calling me about a MAGA hat? And I was tempted to just be like, I don't know. That's weird. What? Stupid. I don't know. People are dumb. And we were like, and he was like trying to figure it out. Is it one of our haters? Who could this be? And so I couldn't lie. I showed him, and he thought it was hilarious. But I really did want to just like play off like, I don't know. This is troubling. I don't know. But yeah, you've gotten how many calls? Like, I mean, it's over 100 at this point, right?
From the time that you posted that yesterday to the time that I sent you the video, I think we're at 115.
Oh, and you've gotten way more since then.
I've gotten tons since then. I started answering. Most of them hang up. I think most people think it's a joke. And then when I answer, I'm like, yeah, thanks for calling Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law. How can I help you? They hang up on me.
Like, oh shit, this is a real number. They hang up.
So
answering at as attorneys do, answering at 8:40 at night.
Well, we're so busy with this class action against MAGA hat wearing teens that we're just obviously still open, trying to make sure that
we're the Alan Dershowitz, or not Alan Dershowitz. What was that woman's name? Julia Roberts did the movie.
Oh, yep.
Oh man,
Aaron Brockovich.
Aaron Brockovich. We are the Aaron Brockoviches of our era, which is apparently now.
Which is right now.
Which is this very moment. And so guys, if you're looking to score big on that MAGA hat kid staring money, then you know who to call.
Yeah, you need to call
Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
Yeah, Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
Attorneys at law.
So yeah, hopefully we get somebody who actually wants to talk to us on this episode. Because I can't wait to hear how that I want to know how that conversation goes, really, more than anything else.
I wonder what the legal limit is for us to consult people about this before. And we're going to talk about this later, but it's not like the feds could even do anything right now. But that's a whole other thing.
I mean, that's completely different.
This is really the moment, guys. I'm not saying that you should sell drugs, but if you're looking to move a brick, this would be the time to do it.
This is definitely the time to move a brick if you're trying to move a brick.
If you're trying to move really anything illegal, this would be your moment. I'm not saying to do it, because I certainly would never encourage anything like that.
Definitely don't recommend it.
Yeah, we at Muddy Waters Media are definitely against brick moving. But if you were going to move a brick, it would be now. This would be your time. Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law.
Yes.
So,
man, we look good on we look really good on Twitter right now. I'm just gonna say that.
Do we?
Yeah, we look real good on Twitter.
I'm happy about that. We look best on Twitter, right?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, Periscope is our joint.
Yeah.
So for those who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about with MAGA hat kids,
and if you if you have no idea what we're talking about, good on you. That means you have not been on social media for the last 2 days.
Or turned on your TV. You've been blessed. You've been spending time just watching Netflix and loving life and not realizing that a race war is brewing in this governmentless society that we have today. So basically, there was a march over the weekend called the March for Life. It's a pro-life march that happens every year, and the people come from all over. It's actually a massive march. It's larger than most other marches in DC and gets very little coverage, obviously, because it doesn't meet the narrative of what major media wants to talk about, except Fox News. And so there were some kids that were taking part in the march from Covington Catholic High School, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Covington Catholic School.
Covington Catholic, yep.
Yeah, Covington Catholic somewhere in Kentucky, and these kids are like, I don't know, 13 years old, 14. They're kids, and they
I'm gonna guess 15 to 18 because it's high school.
Oh, is it that old? They look way younger.
I mean, it's
that.
high school, so you got to think.
I guess so. I don't even remember how old I was in high school anymore. I know we pretend we're young on this show, but man,
that's the drugs talking.
So the kid drums. What's that mean, Matt? So the kids they took part in this march, and then afterwards they went to the National Mall, or I guess the march is at the National Mall, and they were looking at the Lincoln Memorial or whatever. And this big group of kids were told, wait here they were waiting for the bus. So they waited for the bus, and during that time, a group of adults referred to as the Black Hebrew Israelites. This is a group of black gentlemen who, so I guess without going too deep into it, if you can picture, they're kind of like the Westboro Baptist Church, except they're black, and they think that they are the real Hebrews, the real Israelites that are spoken of in the Bible, and that Jews like me are fake Israelites, and that we stole it from them. And it gets a lot deeper and weirder, and basically they scream at everyone. They're big in New York City. There's actually a bunch of them in Charlotte too. You'll see them in major metro areas screaming at everyone. They scream at the white people. They scream at black people who aren't dressed up in robes and turbans like them. They hate gay people. They hate everyone. Really, they hate everyone. They're like the very similar parallels to Westboro.
I was going to say it sounds just like Westboro, with the exception of skin color.
And also being like avidly racist, because I think Westboro actually isn't racist. I'm not sure of
Yeah,
that, but
I honestly couldn't tell you on that one. I just know,
yeah,
I just know they
don't
really
think they actually
hate
care
gay
about
people.
skin color. They just hate everyone. Um, but so anyway, so the Black Hebrew Israelites were screaming at these kids and calling them incest children and screaming all sorts of stuff at them, and then also they also were screaming. So there's one black kid in the school, or one of the black kids. They were screaming at the black kid and saying, these white kids are going to harvest your organs or something like that.
Right.
So they're screaming at the kids. The kids asked their chaperones if they could start doing their chant, their high school chant, to drown out these people screaming at them. And the chaperones were like, okay. So they start doing their chant. In the midst of all of this, there's also I guess a native rally or a native march that had just dispersed, and some of the natives were leaving that, and they came up to this, and this is where it gets murky on why exactly this happened. But for whatever reason, there's a few different narratives as to why this happened. A guy by the name of Nathan Phillips, I think his name is.
Yeah.
A native guy in his 60s walks up to the kids and starts. He has a drum, like a native tribal drum, and he's banging on the drum and doing a native chant, sort of, I guess, to the rhythm of their school chant. And so there's this video of so this happens, and then very quickly soon after, in social media, there is this like 20-second long clip of him in front of a student banging his drum, and it looks like he's surrounded by all these kids who are, it looks like they're screaming, but you don't realize they're doing their chant. Go ahead.
So real quick, like, that came out right around lunchtime, Sunday?
Saturday, I think.
Saturday?
Yeah. It may have been Sunday, actually.
Matt, we're going to be getting...
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Ready?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you for calling Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law. How may I help you? Not committing. Once again, not committing.
Damn it, commit, people.
You're messing with my flow of my storytelling.
You're not going to get entitled to compensation,
right?
If you hang up
on us.
We can't help you.
We can't help you anyway.
It's impossible. Because we could if you didn't hang up. You could. PG Newser Paul Gordon says Allred. I feel Gloria Allredish in this scenario. I wonder if Gloria Allred gets hung up on a lot.
Probably. So yeah, Saturday that video comes out, and I'm out at lunch, and I'm having lunch with my dad, and I'm doing my thing, and playing on the phone while he's talking to me about whatever, and and I see it, and I watched the video, and you're right, it's about 20 seconds, 30-second long video, and everybody, like, I'd already seen so many people complaining about how this kid is being so disrespectful to this guy. And then, so I watched this 20-second video, and he's banging on the drum, and he slowly makes his way through the crowd, and then goes right up into Nick
Sandman, I think his name is. Sandman, yeah.
Yeah, he goes right up into Nick Sandman's face, and he starts doing it, and Nick's got that smirk on that is now world famous. And then that's where the video ends. And and I commented on it, and I said, he walked right up to the kid.
Yeah.
Like, what? I don't see how the kid was being disrespectful. He just didn't move.
And if you look before that, the part that they first showed to try to make it look like he was intimidating the native guy, if you look at the video before that, he was like flinching at first, because a picture someone comes up and starts banging a drum in your face.
Yeah.
Just the reverberation of that, and the stick that he's hitting it with is like inches from his face. And I don't think he was trying to hurt the guy or anything like that. But like, you've got strangers screaming at you and like calling you, like, I mean, they were screaming like anti-gay slurs and racist slurs at the kids. And then this other guy comes up and starts banging a drum. What the hell is going on? Like it's like something out of a Fellini movie or something. Like you're sitting there, and you're waiting to get back in your bus to go back to frickin' Kentucky to your Catholic church school, and I can't imagine how much exposure they've had to random stuff to begin with, and now they're getting all the random stuff at once, and with insults and swearing, and now this guy's banging a drum in your face. And what it looked like at first to me was like a smug smirk, but after watching, I have to admit I didn't watch the whole hour and 45-minute video, but after watching the most pertinent parts of it, and all of the part of the where the native guy Phillips is there, Mr. Phillips is there, I think he was just like in this awkward, like half scared, half, confused. I'm not sure what to do. I'm just going to stand here and smile, and, hopefully this will end soon. And, when you watch the whole thing, and this is one of those, powerful moments about how you can take a snippet of video and make it look like something completely different. That snippet of video, you can look at it, and especially with the description that was given, you can think these kids surrounded this poor guy who's doing his chant, and they're all up in his face, and, they're wearing their MAGA hats, and, this poor guy didn't even know what was going on or whatever. And then when you watch the whole thing, it's like, no, it's the exact opposite. Like, I don't necessarily think that Mr. Phillips was a bad guy, although he keeps changing his story on why he did what he did. But it's certainly like the kid didn't do anything wrong, and it's crazy to watch. Like, so the major news outlets, whatever, the major media carried it, unquestioning the original narrative. And then once more video came out, pretty much all the major narrative and a lot of left-wing people and other people that were putting this out have retracted their original statement and apologized for not, waiting to hear more of it. And so you've got this devoted group of leftist social justice warriors that are still holding on desperately to the narrative that this kid did something wrong and it's just falling apart. And it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, if you feel victimized, call us and we will do everything that is within our power.
And did you see today a video was released by two young women, who were in DC for something. I don't know what they were in DC for. It didn't say, but they were in DC and they were walking down, and like it was a video of some of the Covington kids harassing them.
So I didn't watch the video, but I saw a link that there was a girl that was harassed by kids or guys wearing Make America Great Again hats. But has that been confirmed that it's the same kids?
I mean, they were young kids. Like I watched the video. They were young kids. I don't know if they were the Covington kids or not, but
right.
Like, and people were like, "See, these kids don't have any respect for whatever."
Right.
And I was like, I remember being a high schooler.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that. And you haven't learned at that point that being excited about a very attractive woman walking by is wrong. Like,
right.
Like you haven't been like beaten down by society enough at this point. So like you haven't been rejected enough in order to be like, no, I'm not even going to attempt that. So
not worth it. Right.
Right.
And we also don't know that that's the same, like,
right.
I mean, I'm trying to picture the high school I went to. God forbid I'd be compared to some of the worst actors in my grade. Like, I actually was one of them, but God forbid one of the better kids be compared to what I did as a, you know what I mean? Like, like, oh, the class of 2000 in Myrtle Beach, and then they show a picture of me, doing the things I was never actually proven to have done, and the good kids, it would suck for them to be compared to me in that situation. So, I mean, I'm not going to speak for every single kid from Covington High School or whatever Covington Catholic School. That kid that everyone has focused their visceral hatred for and tried to track down his information so they can dox him and have people physically confront him and all this crap. As far as anything I've seen, he didn't do anything wrong.
Right. It's like the Saturday Night Live writer.
Yeah, I was just gonna, yeah.
Who I wish I'd put her name in the notes. But there is a female Saturday Night Live writer, and she tweeted out yesterday or today that anybody who were to punch this teenager, this young teenager in the face,
Yep.
because of his smug smile and punch him in his very punchable face, she would give oral sex to.
Yeah, Sarah Beatty or Beatty is her name. I have never heard of her. I don't really follow Saturday Night Live that much anymore, but yeah, the idea that, well, I mean, putting the oral sex thing aside, the idea
I mean, I'm not gonna lie,
like,
I did think about it because it's been a while.
like, sorry, kid. But
I hope you understand. You will when you're older.
You'll get it later.
You'll get it when you're older.
You'll understand. This is a life lesson. But you want a kid beat up for smiling.
For smiling.
Like, what the hell is wrong with, like, I'm not a Trump supporter. When I see someone wearing a MAGA hat, most of the time I like either roll my eyes or just think, oh, okay, good. Like, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I have roughly the same reaction I have when I see people wearing hope and change stuff. You know, I'm just like this is the first foot forward you want to put to strangers, that you're this devoted to a politician. But whatever, like, I get it. Like, you know, that's your statement, that's your thing, whatever. The fact that you're wearing that, I'm not going to hate you. And I'm certainly not going to try to construct this idea that you smiling in an incredibly awkward and possibly even scary situation makes you deserving of anything other than a little bit of sympathy that, you know, you went through this. You know, I would say the same. If it had been a situation where a bunch of black kids wearing Obama stuff started getting yelled at by white racists, and then a native, again, this is like Twin Peaks. A Indian shows up with a drum. Like, what the hell is happening? And a native shows up and starts banging a drum in your face, and one of the black kids is smiling. I'd be saying the same thing I am now. This isn't a pro-Trump thing by any stretch of the imagination. Anyone who's watched this show knows that we are not Trump supporters. And it's just insane to me. Like, it speaks to how driven insane people are by seeing those hats. And some people by seeing white kids smiling. Like, some people just don't. If they see a white person enjoying or even appearing to enjoy something, they're upset about that. But that's a small group of people. A lot of them, they saw a MAGA hat, they saw someone smiling, and they saw a native, and that was enough for them to say, hang them. And that's just insane.
And so, you know, people were coming out, and they're like, you saw the Twitter feeds from people or the Twitter posts from people that were saying,
right.
You know, if you go out in that hat, you know what you're doing and you deserve what happens.
Yeah.
Like, and and again, I'm going to preface this before we even get there. That we here at Muddy Waters Media do not condone rape in any way.
Ever. We are very anti-rape.
We are very anti-rape. But these are the same people who are saying that these kids who are out there, you know, anybody who's out there wearing a Make America Great Again hat,
right.
Anybody that's wearing it is like asking for what comes to them. That is the exact same argument as somebody saying, well, look at how she was dressed.
Right.
Exact same argument.
Yeah, she was asking for it. She's wearing a dress. Like, okay, so
it's a hat.
It's a hat. And it has a very polarizing, because it's not, you know, because I saw one person say, well, it's just saying they want to make America great again. Okay, at this point, a red Make America Great Again or a MAGA hat doesn't just mean you want to make America great. Like, there's a lot tied to it, and in terms of supporting Donald Trump and everything that comes with that. Right. So it's definitely a political statement, but and if you're not a supporter of that, it's a political statement of things that, you know, we don't support. But it's not a Hitler hat. It's not a freaking Che Guevara shirt, which is, you know,
easily
popular.
Easily.
I mean, that's
much
everyone's
worse.
fine with that. That's an actual shirt that, I mean, I wouldn't say someone deserves what they get for it, but, you know, you've got a genocidal maniac on your shirt. You know, maybe don't do that. But I mean, you have a MAGA hat on. I'm not going to go to the level of saying, because if you deserve to be, if based on Trump's conduct as president, you deserve to be beaten for wearing that hat, then if you're going to be logically consistent and intellectually honest, then someone wearing Obama stuff also needs to get hit, and someone wearing an "I'm with her," Hillary shirt also needs to get hit, and someone who's wearing whatever Bush, Reagan, whatever, like it's it's absurd. The So an interesting thing about this, speaking of leftist agitators, the Libertarian Party chairman, Nicholas Sarwark, is that how you pronounce that?
Nick Sarwark.
He jumped on this anti-MAGA hat kid bandwagon.
The SJW leader of the Libertarian Party.
Of the Libertarian Party. He jumped on this, and he's supposedly an ANCAP. Did you know that?
Is he?
That's what I've been told.
Okay.
He's an anarcho-capitalist.
Sure.
Yeah, Brave New World. And so he, what a time to be alive. And he jumped on the anti-MAGA hat kid bandwagon really early and said, I'm not even as upset about their actions as I am about the silence of those who've witnessed it. And there were others who also, in and out of the Libertarian Party who initially jumped on it and said, this is terrible and whatever. And when more information came out, they said, hey, look, this isn't what it looked like, and I was wrong. And even some people said, hey, I'm still not completely absolving the kid, but it's not nearly as cut and dry as it was. Sarwark has steadfastly stuck to his narrative.
Oh, he is not backing down.
He was not backing down. There has been a very heated debate that he is actively engaged in, where he has said that, this kid was in the wrong. People have shown, they've talked specifically about what the kid did during the video to prove that he didn't do anything wrong. And Sarwark says, well, you're just engaging in what about is, oh, yes.
Fingers crossed.
Can I answer this one? Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law. May I help you?
I'm sorry. I picked up the wrong number. My mistake.
Oh, okay. No problem. Are we still on?
No, I hung up.
That guy's lying.
He was not expecting us to answer that phone.
That guy was lying.
He was 100% lying.
Sir, if you're watching this, don't lie. You knew you wanted to hear about the settlement.
Yeah, you wanted to know all about that free money.
People are thinking they're calling a legit law firm. Oh man, I hope this never ends. So what was I even saying? Okay, so Sarwark has been doubling down and accusing people of being dishonest when they're like basically showing them video of what happened. And Karen Ann Harlos, who is she's the treasurer, I think, of the Libertarian Party?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe she's the treasurer.
And more importantly, she's like a workhorse for the Libertarian Party. She's single-handedly building the Libertarian Party wiki page, Lpedia, and she's looking for original documentation of the party. She's like basically the historian / curator of the party. She's incredibly active. She's also an anarcho-capitalist, and she's incredibly, incredibly active in the party. And she brought this up and said, hey, look, this kid was a victim, and this is very similar to something that happened to her at the 2016 convention where a guy basically chased her up a podium and got in her face and was putting stuff in her face, and she was telling him to back
big
up.
Sign in her face, I believe.
Yeah, he had like a political sign.
Right.
And he was screaming. He was all in her face, and she was saying, get away from me. I feel threatened. Leave me alone. And when she reported that, I guess to Sarwark or to whomever else, they didn't do anything about it. They just were like, they don't care. And so it was like, bothering her that, once again, Sarwark is seeing someone being like, not aggressed against to the extent of like being assaulted, but really being potentially threatened and being in a scary situation and being respectful about it. And he's attacking essentially the victim. And what's crazy about it is he's doing it because it matches a leftist an authoritarian leftist narrative, it's like you're supposed to be a libertarian.
He's supposed to be. He's not.
It's so weird. Like, so my exposure to Nick Sarwark was watching his old videos, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. And then when I was talking to people in the party, and I'm like, is he a minarchist? Is he? And they're like, no, he's an ANCAP. And because he's given speeches where he said, there's no government like no government. And I'm like, okay. And then
I've heard that speech. Well, I've heard one of those speeches. I don't know if he only did that once. It wouldn't surprise me. I think once he got a little bit of a taste of power, he was like, wait a minute, maybe we need a little government.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't get his, and this isn't the first time he's done this. He jumped on, there was a beef between Eric July and essentially a has-been rapper named Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
And he jumped on Talib's side, and I'm like, Talib Kweli is a democratic socialist. This is who you're siding with over an actual libertarian.
And then he got into a big Twitter war with Tom Woods.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, no, he and Tom Woods got into this huge Twitter war with each other. Tom Woods was essentially saying that you're not a libertarian, and Nick Sarwark's only response really was, well, I'm a member of the party, so I'm a libertarian, because, that's all that really matters.
That's all you have to do,
right?
Is just be a member.
Just be a member of this party.
Political party, yeah.
He has done... When Muhammad was still the co-host of this show, we had Greg Bowen on as a guest, and we did this entire thing. We did this entire episode where we just talked about Nick Sarwark being awful, and that was over a year ago. That was before he won re-election in New Orleans.
And the thing, I've always tried to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, because again, hearing what he's had to say in the past, I'm like, you know what? I've seen people that are in leadership positions and they get thrown into the spotlight in battles between other people, and they sometimes have to take uncomfortable positions for the sake of, party unity or, not falling into the fray. But this is the opposite. He actively, he looks for petty quarrels to inject himself into, to take whatever the furthest left position in that argument is. And it's like,
and I mean, not only that, but you are the leader. You are the leader of a political party.
Right.
And you want to give off the facade that you're a legitimate political party, and I get that. I 100% get that. But you're focusing on whether or not the smirking kid was wrong versus the guy banging the drum in his face, which I get. I get the irony that you and I are talking about this for the first 30 minutes of this program so far, but you're the leader of this.
We are at the head of a libertarian
right, exactly. Party. You should be focusing on other things that actually matter. Whether or not this kid was in the wrong or the guy banging the drum Nathan Phillips was in the wrong. Whichever one was in the wrong, it doesn't matter. As the head of the Libertarian Party, you should be focusing on, the civil rights violations that are being, the civil rights violations, where the police steal your stuff, civil asset forfeiture.
Oh, civil asset forfeiture. Yeah. And I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you could be talking about.
So many things that you could be focusing on, but instead you are this is the hill you're choosing to die on. Yeah, and it makes absolutely no sense that
a hill you're willing to die on in fighting against your own
people,
board.
Yeah, you're fighting against the at-large members. You're fighting against. I don't know where Alex Merced. I don't know.
Alex Merced. He's the vice chair.
Yeah, I don't know where he stands on this whole thing, or he's probably.
Nor do we need to.
Yeah, he's probably staying silent, like they all should, I guess. But you're fighting against the people that are in your own board, and instead it's just making the entire party look sillier than it already does because you're their leader.
It's just a weird. weird petty thing, and I'm not sure. I don't, you know,
and he's
I
refusing.
wonder why we're talking about it as long as we are. But this is what we do. We have a topical show where we talk about stuff,
Right.
and this is easily the biggest news story in the last 2 or 3 days.
And you said we were going to bang it into the ground, missing
Oh,
the
and
great...
we're banging it into. It is well into. I'd flushed with the very earth.
Yes,
banging it like that native drum.
Yeah,
like
banging it like that drum in that kid's face.
In that kid's face. You, our lovely viewing audience, are that kid, and we are the native banging the drum. That is the story in your face.
People will say it's racist for us to say that because we just compared ourselves to natives, but in all honesty, Elizabeth Warren set the stage for all of this.
I am easily more native than Liz Warren.
I am easily less.
I'm between the two of us, we're roughly as native as Liz Warren is, so I'm comfortable. I stand by what I said. Right. We are the
Yep.
We're like the native that's being the drum in your face. So I this feels fairly flush with the ground at this point. So I think we can pivot into the
I believe that
the other major news.
I do believe that we do have attorney Chris Reynolds watching. So I was wondering if Chris Reynolds is watching. How much trouble can we get in for pretending to be a legal firm, even though we don't actually practice any law or plan on practice?
Chris,
if you're watching,
what's the law regarding?
We made a joke.
Even jokingly referring to yourselves as, for example, Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law, and taking calls from people and answering as such.
And for anybody here in Florida, attorney Chris Reynolds can help you out with many of your legal needs.
if you actually want to be represented, don't call us. Attorney Chris Reynolds.
Call attorney Chris Reynolds.
Because he's actually an attorney.
He is really an attorney. This is his pen right here. But
it's what he actually does. So don't.
Right.
We're not trying to compete with him.
So hopefully we get an answer on that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to knowing whether I need to book it like back in the day. But
as of today,
yes.
as of a couple hours ago, I'm assuming, both of us lose our bets. As to Yep. Both of us lose our bets. The government has now been closed for 32 days. And
yeah, 32 was what we bet, right?
But I bet 31, you bet 32.
Okay, so you've already lost.
Oh yeah, I lost yesterday.
You already lost yesterday. I am holding on by a thread, and certainly not upset about it at all, but unless we see some capitulation in the next 2 hours and 47 minutes, I will also have lost our bet, which means it goes to the House, I guess. Not sure how that works.
Well, no, Jacob LaBelle has 42. So it just has to get past 42, and then it goes to the House. Because Jacob LaBelle...
You haven't won... What? Oh, does Jacob win by default because his was the biggest number?
Well, no, like if it gets past 42, no.
Oh, because Jacob's writing.
Yeah, no, yeah, I saw that. That's why I wanted to make sure we pointed out that no, you have not won yet. But
we may all lose here, and I'm fine with that because I don't mind if it never opens again. But yeah, so we are in day 32, soon to be 33 of the government shutdown. It is easily the longest shutdown of the federal government, which I still feel silly calling it that because most of the government's still open.
Right,
but the shutdown of the part of the government that is funded through yearly appropriations, that part has been shut down for the longest time in human history, in the U.S. history. But I'm hoping we beat Belgium's record because Belgium didn't have a government for
435 days or whatever it was.
Yeah, 400 and something, 413, 430, something like that. Yeah. I believe that America can beat Belgium.
Yeah, because America likes being number one.
Yeah, we're really try to be number one on a lot of things, and I think that why not this? So we're well into the shutdown. Donald Trump wanted to give his State of the Union address, and Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, wrote him saying that for security reasons, she didn't think it was right for him to do the State of the Union and she can do that because she is in charge of the House of Representatives, which is where the State of the Union is given. And so he responded by Pelosi.
Before we say this, I want to say that this was both the most petulant thing I've ever seen a president do, at the same time as being the most savage thing a president has ever done.
Yeah, no, there was nothing morally redeemable about this, and yet I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's one of those, like, when you see a kid do something bad, but it's like you can't help but laugh.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah,
it's just so funny that they'd said that, and you're like, oh, you're gonna get in trouble. He's not gonna get in trouble, which makes it even funnier. So Nancy Pelosi and several other congressional Democrats were on their way to a multi-country trip throughout Europe, and I think they were going to Afghanistan and Egypt, and they were going to many different countries. It was a part of a large congressional junket where Syria. They were going to use, I guess, Air Force One to do the trip, which is, I guess, standard for these types of trips.
I don't think it was Air Force One. I think it was just an Air Force plane.
Okay. And that's what I meant. So I'm glad you corrected me. But yeah, they were going to use, and he's in charge of the Air Force as commander in chief. So, but it's just usually it's a typical thing that congressional they do these junkets using military planes, and they get around. And so he sent her a note saying, he was canceling her trip. Or not canceling your trip. You can't use the planes.
You can't use
if you want to keep doing it
because the government shut down.
Because the government shut down, and it would be wrong for you to do this gallivant or whatever, however he worded it. I wish I had the wording in front of me, but a very, very petty response, which was hilarious, and said basically you can't go. You can't use that. It ended the trip because it wasn't like they were going to have these
and what he said
people fly commercial.
What he said was, I think that this time would be better spent talking about national security or border security. I don't remember which one here in in DC. Now you can still go on your trip if you fly commercial.
If you fly commercial, pay out of pocket for it.
And everybody knows there's no way that's happening.
No, that was never going to happen. And she said, it's this crucial trip. Okay, well then pay for it.
Right.
So that happens. And so it was already funny enough. Then we find out he issued this as they were waiting for the plane. They were already on the bus. Their bags were already on their way to be loaded onto the plane. And then they get notification that he sent this letter to her office. So they have to go back on the bus. And then the Air Force brings this, it's like just a cart with all their bags on it. And it says Pelosi on it. And this was the most petty thing I can think of a president doing.
Ever.
And,
Easily.
when people, it was like,
oh God, that was.
And what she did was kind of petty too.
What she did was, both of them are just acting like petulant children in this situation.
Yeah, they're both acting like spoiled children. Because
you're not going to give me what I want. You're not going to give me what I want. Well, I'm not going to give you what you want. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to get I have a feeling this could go on forever. Because if you think about it, so she said, you're not going to get the State of the Union, which. Right. Now he's going to do a rally instead, which you didn't think that one through.
Really?
Because now he's going to be surrounded by people who want to be there and aren't going to try to shoot him down.
He's going to do a State of the Union at a Trump rally.
Yeah, at a Trump rally in Texas.
Brilliant.
He's that is a much better place for him to do it anyway, because he's only going to be surrounded by people who want to be there. He's not going to be surrounded by 50% of the people shaking their head at him disapprovingly and booing him and refusing to applaud and all that kind of stuff.
And the media is going to have to cover it because it's the State of the Union
exactly.
Address. It's what he would have wanted. What a stupid ass move.
So she's like, no State of the Union for you. And he's like, okay, well, no trip to.
I'm going to do it at a Trump rally and everyone has to cover all of it. I mean, they don't have to.
They don't have
but
to.
It would be a major break for them to not carry the State of the Union address.
Right.
And it will just drive home his narrative that the media is against him specifically. Okay, good.
You ready?
Are you going to answer me?
I'll answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for calling Cohen and Wright, attorneys at law. How may I help you?
Oh, it's the wrong number. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sir, is it a wrong number or did you have a MAGA hat child stare at you?
I already hung up.
Oh. I'm going to challenge these people.
Okay, I'll leave it on next time.
Next time, wrong number. No, sir, it's not a wrong number.
It's not a wrong number.
I think you got the right number.
I think you got exactly the number you thought you were getting.
I think we've got your number, huh? Huh? This couldn't be better. So yeah, go ahead.
He does. She's like, no State of the Union for you, and he's like, okay, well, no trip to Egypt and Belgium for you, and then
I'm doing a Trump rally,
and I'm doing a Trump rally on top of it. But then he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you DACA. I'm gonna give you DACA if you say yes to the border wall, and they go, nah. I know that we were fighting about it and saying that was the most important legislation that we could possibly have, a year ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. But no, we don't want that now. We just no border law. Yep. We will not give up on this.
Right. So this is after the media has been slamming Trump that, this is, all these terrible, the horrors of the government shutdown are happening as a result of Donald Trump refusing to negotiate on this $5.7 billion for the wall, that it's absolutely disgusting. And, how dare he not negotiate? So he negotiates live on TV and says, I'm going to give you, a 3-year extension for the Dreamers in exchange for the $5.7 billion that we need to start on the wall this year.
Right.
And the response wasn't, okay, well, we want 5 years for the Dreamers and we'll only give you $3 billion or whatever. They just said, no, we're not giving you a penny for the wall. So now the media has to try to thread the needle of explaining to the public that increasingly doesn't trust anything they have to say, left or right. And now they've got to thread the needle of going, well, no, it's actually a good thing that the Democrats are refusing to negotiate.
I would say you can't play both sides, but you can. I mean, you just can.
Yeah, he is. So we now have this is the libertarian dream, by the way.
This is one.
Everyone is.
This is the future libertarians want.
This is the future libertarians want. It's the beginning of the future libertarians want, where people hate government more and more every day and openly question whether or not they even need it. And the government remains increasingly shut down because the longer it goes on, the more agencies run out of funding. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. The more agencies run out of funding, the less the government is actually involved in your life. And the more people are like, holy crap, I can still do everything. And for the things that they can't do, for example, it's looking like FHA loans are going to start being held up and stuff like that. People are saying, why is the government even involved in loans in the first place?
Right.
Why can't we just do this without government? So it's really like, it's one of those emperor with no clothes things where it's like the emperor's new cloak or whatever, where it's like, you realize it's like, oh crap, we really don't need government. And the places where we need government are where they've injected themselves and we don't actually need them. They just make their involvement mandatory. And right. So it's just, this is, like I said, holy hell, this is just entertaining. Yeah. Here's another fun one. It's not in our notes, but so food stamps are going to run out soon. And the SNAP program.
I just got somebody just texted me about that, so I have the actual date.
Yeah. So what has happened is that in I think all states,
I don't have the actual date.
They already gave the February food stamps away. They've already given them out and instructed people, this is for February. Don't think it's a bonus or whatever. Go ahead and spend what your part for January, and then keep this, ration it for February. And then we get hit with a snowstorm, so they got to. So then they got to spend it all, and there's nothing coming after that. There's nothing apportioned for it.
Right.
There's no money there. So if this extends through February, most or not all the SNAP and WIC and those types of programs are going to have no money. And if you think that this has been a fun situation we've had, wait until 1 out of 8 Americans has to figure out that the other 7 aren't being robbed anymore to pay for them to eat, and watch what unfolds there. Because pro tip to them, the police and prisons are still fully funded. So if they have no problem throwing you in. And there's actually been a lot of people freed recently, so they have some room for you if you do some of the things that I've already seen threatened on social media if they don't get their food stamps. So that'll be the next interesting thing to watch.
Another big one is that after day 31, which would have been today, the president can start firing any non-essential employees. Yeah.
Now, yes, that is true. I will, if anyone wants to put up $500 that they think he will do that, I will more than like, I have to talk to my wife first. I will possibly match you on that he won't. I don't think he'll actually do that.
No.
But it's the fact that he could do that. And you know what? I actually am taking that back, because I don't think he'd do it right now, but give this another month where he's, really getting pissed off at everyone. I could totally see him saying, fund my border wall or I'm firing all these people. And then the Democrats thinking that that's going to help them in the next election, saying, well, then fire him because we're not giving you the wall. We're in uncharted territories where both sides hate each other so much that there's not going to, or really, and again, I don't like to side with Trump. This is truly, they hate Trump so much because he's even started to negotiate and they're like, no. And knowing him, he's going to be like, all right, well, I tried to negotiate with you. Now it's on you.
Right.
Whether that's how the media says it or not, that's how he's going to see it. And that's really how it is. If one side's negotiating and the other side isn't.
But also at the same time, it doesn't matter how the media, because the media is going to say whatever they're going to say. They're going to say, Trump needs to back down on the border wall or whatever. Right. And, the people who care about what the mainstream media says is going to say, yeah, no, Trump needs to back down on the border wall. Trump's going to go out there and he's going to say, I tried to negotiate. And the people who listen to what he says and read his tweets and follow everything that is all Trump, they're going to believe that. So all you're doing is both sides are just driving the wedge further in between them, because the Dems are like, no, I'm not going to negotiate after Trump. Trump initially was like, I'm not going to negotiate. And then he's like, okay, well, I'll negotiate. I'll give you DACA. And they're like, no, we're not going to negotiate with you.
Yeah, we're still not going to negotiate with you.
All right. Well, now it kind of is on the Democrats, but the media won't portray it that way. And the people who are against the wall, are going to buy that side of the story. While the people who are for the wall and are just for Trump in general are going to buy the opposite side of the story. And
which means that, go ahead.
And that's how the wedge is going to go further and further in there. And as Trump gets angrier, and the Dems can't really do anything because anything that they pass isn't going to make it through the Senate.
They can't do anything.
They can't.
And he'll veto it.
He'll veto it if it does. He'll go, no, not until we get a budget passed.
Yes.
So this shutdown could last until the next election.
It really could. And that is amazing. First of all, we've saved, I think, $8 billion so far in pay and that's not including if the furloughed workers got fired. These are for the non-essential contractors who do not get back pay in the event of a shutdown. They just are kind of held off and resume pay starting from when the shutdown ends. So we've already said, I think it's $8 billion or something like that, which is it's a small amount compared to the overall budget, but it's just the fact that it's this is really happening and it looks like it's going to keep getting worse. And because there's no upcoming elections, Donald Trump has no reason to wait right now. Nope. And the thing is, he's not banking on voters who hate the wall anyway. He's banking that a plurality of voters, and he may very well be right because he won his last election, that a plurality of voters are energized about this border security thing. And full disclosure, we on this show do not support the wall. We're not really big fans of border security to begin with, but we're just telling it like it is when it comes to the general public. The general public could...
Hang on, we got another call coming in.
Okay.
You or me? Me.
Cohen and Wright Attorneys at Law. May I help you? Hello?
He hung up.
Ow, crap.
Yeah, he hung up immediately.
I want someone to be like, oh, wrong number. No. This is the right number.
I want somebody to tell me they want their free money.
That's the thing. Like, I want someone who, like, is ready to sue.
Right.
And we can pass him on to Chris Reynolds, attorney at law.
So for anybody who's been watching or listening to this show, this is the rate that I've been getting phone calls since yesterday.
Yes.
At first I wasn't answering,
been going.
But now after like a couple of people left messages, I started answering, and most people are hanging up.
So I'm going to go through some of the comments here. Man, we missed a lot of comments.
We did, but
I'll just do the most recent one. So Fotini Henderson, hey Fotini, says, "Whoa, really? Did the DACA kids realize Pelosi just refused it?" That's a big question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an excellent question, my friend, because it's like, oh, we're fighting for you. Are you? Or because it sounds like we just had a something that could have helped us here. Jacob LaBelle says she responded before the speech. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
That was in reference. I saw it when it came in. That's in reference to Pelosi responded to Trump before he gave his speech. Yeah.
She said so because it got leaked what he was gonna offer, and she said even before it that it was dead on arrival.
Right.
So I mean, you want to talk about refusing to negotiate? You didn't even wait for the guy to say the thing. Sarah Branyan says the more we realize we never needed them. Exactly. And then Jacob LaBelle says yellow jackets, which
I think he means yellow vests.
Oh, were we at yellow vest? We don't have to yellow vest. The government's shutting
down. The
own.
Government's doing it on its own.
The government's guillotining
the
themselves.
Government is doing. So. Brad Cash says, which I don't know what that was in reference to. And Brad, you can call me later. You have my number.
And then he started late on purpose. Oh, Trump started late on purpose to give her time to say no?
Okay.
I give a series of strange new respects for Trump. I don't think Trump's terribly smart from a intellectual, cerebral standpoint. I don't think anyone would try to claim that. He has an innate sense of how his actions, how people will respond to his actions, people who like him and people who don't like him, which is really the consummate thing you need as a salesperson, to have a very instinctual sense of how your words and actions, how people respond to them. It's what you do for a living.
Right.
And he has an incredible, amazing ability, not just to craft how, and I guess for lack of a better word, manipulate how his supporters will respond to things, but more importantly, and even more powerfully, how his detractors will. And he is so good at driving them insane and making them trip over themselves, which leads to our next story, which is that there was an article, an article in BuzzFeed about the Mueller investigation, the ongoing Mueller investigation that has been going on since this show has existed, even before I was a host. I think never-ending Mueller.
The Mueller investigation has been going on since this show has been going on.
Yeah,
it's basically
before.
No, not really, because I mean we started this show in December of 2016.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it is as old as this show,
right?
And
this show may be a little older.
Right, exactly.
Not by much.
What's that?
Not by much, but yep, the show may be just a little bit older.
They grew up together. This show and the Mueller investigation have grown together.
We've gotten to know each other real well.
Right. And so there was a story that was leaked by BuzzFeed that said that in the Mueller investigation that Michael the attorney, good old
Michael the attorney.
Michael
Donald
the attorney.
Donald Trump's former attorney, Michael.
Here's Michael.
Just Michael.
His name is Michael Cohen. It makes me sick because there aren't a lot of famous Cohens. And so...
Except the brothers.
What's that?
You got the Cohen brothers.
But see, that's spelled different, Coen. But you're right. So before, when I would say Cohen, people go, "Oh, like the Cohen brothers," and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Now everyone's like, "Oh, you mean like Michael Cohen?"
Like Michael Cohen?
No,
actually.
No. So Michael,
just old Michael,
attorney at law, or I guess he's not an attorney at law anymore.
Not anymore.
Michael Donald's former attorney, Michael. So this article says that he admitted to that there was evidence of, and that he admitted to that Donald Trump directed him to lie to Congress about, I don't even remember what, but
something about
if that were
payments
true,
or meetings. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, it was the timing of meetings or something like that. But more importantly, it was that Trump directed him to lie to Congress, which is easily an impeachable defense. And if there were actual evidence of that, I could see there being not just enough votes in the Senate, which is what really in the Senate and House to impeach, but possibly even enough to convict, and a lot of pressure for Trump to resign. Like that could be a president and an administration ending situation if that were true. It was a little suspect because no other news agency was reporting this. That this, that their sources were saying the same thing. But then there was also some fact that I guess they had interviewed some administration officials who wouldn't just flat out deny it. Although honestly, why would they? But so it was kind of questionable for a minute there. But it's BuzzFeed News, who previously is known for releasing the infamous Steele dossier, which also turned out to be garbage back in 2017.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something.
And so, I mean, they've already established that maybe their sources aren't the best. And so they put this story out, and then the Mueller team, the Mueller panel, whatever, the office puts out a very, I mean, it's very rare for them to rebuke an article, but they said this is untrue. Like, none of this is true. But up until then, a lot of people had been carrying this story, again, because they hate Donald Trump so much that they couldn't possibly just wait to see if it's true or not. They had to find this next hill of Trump hatred to die on. It blows up in their face, and they're still holding on to it and saying, "Oh, it might be true. It might be true." It's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. They said it wasn't true. So it may have very well, when I first heard it and people were asking me about it, I'm like, I don't know. It might be true. We'll see. So that's a perfect example of like how they just drive themselves insane with this stuff. And it's because he is so good at manipulating them.
Yeah. And I mean, people freaked out. They were like really excited about this BuzzFeed article. And then they found out that it wasn't real. And they freaked out again. And I was like,
yeah, they freaked out again.
It's fucking BuzzFeed. It's BuzzFeed. Like literally, they put out an article at some point in the last week about how do you draw your X. And, there's like 9 different ways to do it or something like that. Right. This is what BuzzFeed does. They put out stupid quizzes and stupid articles comparing your life to My Girl or New Girl or whatever the hell that show's called with Zooey Deschanel.
Which Gilmore Girls character are you, based on some little mini quiz you take? I mean, it's an entertainment site.
Exactly.
And they put out little funny videos and stuff like that.
So when they come out with something that, yes, Sarah Branyan, this was the reason that this was why they literally impeached Nixon.
Yes.
And no, we do know he wasn't impeached, for anybody who does not understand sarcasm.
Yep.
But yeah, they put out these idiotic entertainment things, and when they come out with something, they're like, "Oh, big bombshell news from BuzzFeed." It's like trying to believe The Onion. It really is, or World News Daily, or whatever that one's called.
Right. This. Yeah. Well, they almost got us.
Yeah, they almost got us.
But we vetted.
We did. We looked into it before we started saying things.
Before we broke with the midget mafia story
right.
that we desperately
wanted
to be true.
that to be so true.
We desperately wanted that to be true, but we vetted it. Turned out there is no midget mafia.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, there might be. They just haven't been caught.
There
yet.
should be. I hope there is.
And they just haven't been caught because they're little and they get away.
Well, the FBI is not, they're funded right now. So the BuzzFeed thing came out. They had the reaction they did because Trump has completely burrowed himself into the brains of people that hate him, and it's so, and they make themselves look foolish to the uninvolved or moderate general public because stuff gets discredited, like this thing with the MAGA hat kid, like this thing with the BuzzFeed article, and they're still holding on to it and saying, no, I bet it's true, and that MAGA kid, he deserved it anyway just for wearing the hat, and they're just alienating themselves from everyone. So, which the only way Donald Trump, who's not a terribly popular president, and never has been, the only way for him to get reelected is if his opponents bludgeon themselves and alienate everyone from them sufficiently to make him the slightly more palatable option, or make them a less palatable option than him. And they are working hard at doing that. So
I mean, that's all.
Yeah, we keep mentioning this or foreshadowing to this. We keep mentioning this. So it turns out, guys, again, if you want to move a brick, this would be the time. This would
be the best time.
This would be the peak time. Actually, it's probably just going to get better and better. The FBI has said that they aren't able to pay their informants or buy drugs undercover during the shutdown. They've run out of money, and they don't have the money to pay snitches or narc on people. Now, remember, Donald Trump has ended snitching.
Well, Donald Trump has ended federal snitching. I was going to say, if you're one of our listeners and you want to move a brick, local law enforcement is probably still funded, so be careful.
Yeah.
Not that we recommend you do it.
Oh, we definitely would not.
No.
We definitely would not. Neither would Chris Reynolds, attorney at law, who we may have to hire soon.
Yeah.
But
not even his specialty, but yeah, we may have to hire him.
Or have him refer someone. Federal snitching is not happening right now.
Right.
Or if it is, they're doing it for free.
I don't know,
because
a lot
of
of people
Donald
snitching
Trump.
for free.
What's that?
Not a lot of snitching for free.
Not a lot of snitching for free. Very rarely do you get to snitch for free. I don't know. I guess they're still doing plea deals or whatever. Oh, and they said they were having a hard time renewing their security clearances. They're running out of money.
Everything. I found out. So one of my friends and one of our regular listeners, she works in HR at a company down here in Florida, and the I-9s is something you have to fill out, right? Yeah. I-9s when you get a job and you fill out your W-2 and your I-9 or whatever it's called. Apparently I don't get jobs often enough to know these things. But the I-9...
I've always been self-employed, so I have no idea.
Right. So the I-9 is the one where it's like, okay, yeah, we need your driver's license and another form of ID or just your passport. And you fill out the information and you put it in and whatever.
Oh, for like E-Verify or whatever.
Right, for E-Verify is done. Like right now, there is no E-Verify.
This is becoming the libertarian dream.
I mean, they're getting there. Like you're still
We're closer than we were before.
Yeah, that's true. You're still getting. I mean, obviously, you're still getting taxed. There's still overseas wars going on. You still have countless overreaches in civil rights, but we're getting there. Like there are things that are getting us closer.
It wasn't built in a day.
No, the NSA is still funded, so we still have that issue, but
for how much longer?
Hopefully not.
I mean, this is happening, Matt. Like it's real. And he said to Chuck Schumer, the Senate minority leader, Donald Trump said to Chuck Schumer, "I'll let this go on for months or years." And I'm starting to believe him.
I 100% believe him. I did when he said that.
I didn't believe him when he said that.
He has no intention to end this.
Yeah,
he is not ending this without his wall.
No, he's not. He's not. And I
both abhor.
It's not even for his wall. It's for like the most minuscule of funding for the wall.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's be serious here. So, because we haven't been serious up until this point.
I was going to say, we haven't really joked on this episode. Everything we've said has been factual.
This is a content heavy episode.
This is a content heavy episode.
And these people keep hanging up on us. So, I mean, I'm working with what I have. Completely forgot what I was talking about.
Funding for a small portion of the wall. Because let's be serious for a moment.
Thank you very much. It cost $30 billion and took 30 years to build a tunnel, to dig a tunnel in Boston. It's called the Big Dig.
Yep.
It was supposed to take a few years and cost like a few $100 million. It took a generation and cost hundreds of times what it was supposed to cost. They're telling us this wall is going to cost around $25 billion and take a few years. If you look at the geography of where they would have to do, that's before you get into all the eminent domain lawsuits that will have to take place to seize people's land if they don't agree to sell it at what the government decides is market value. That'll take a few years anyway and cost a lot of money anyway. There's mountain ranges, there's lakes, there's rivers, there's deserts, there's it's not just this like flat desert and you just build it and that's done. They want to build a very heavily involved double wall with a highway in the middle of it across some of the.
Is that what they're doing now? What happened to the steel slats?
The one I saw was double layered wall with a highway that runs between it, so the agents can easily get through it. So even if you get over the one wall, you can't over or the fence or whatever they're calling it, slat, whatever. You can't get over the other. That's at least one of the models I've seen.
Right.
This will take, if they fully funded it, I can't imagine that it's going to take less than 40 or 50 years, or that it's going to cost less than like $500 billion or $1 trillion or some ridiculous thing. Putting aside all the graft and bribery and stuff that's going to happen and skimming that's going to happen, there's also going to be stuff like just unintentional, unplanned for things that are going to happen when trying to build a wall across a mountain range. Like, give me a freaking break.
Yeah, I mean, if you take just into account like the private sector, just in the private sector, the LA Rams, the NFC champion,
right?
LA Rams, heading to the Super Bowl. Don't care about that call. But they are building a new stadium. Their new stadium was initially going to be just over $1 billion.
Right.
And after everything that's going to be going into it, now they're sharing it with the Chargers, so they had to do an expansion for that. And now the NFL network is going to be also involved. Like, they're going to have their headquarters out of this stadium. So all of this has now increased. This is private sector stuff, and it's doubled the cost of what this wall is going to be in less than 2 years. Like,
this is what happens with these massive projects.
Right.
That's private sector, like you said.
Exactly. So for it to be in the public sector, a government-run building project, this is going to turn out, I don't care what $25 billion is what they said?
25 or 50 or some ridiculous thing.
Whatever that is, you can easily triple that number. Easily. Without even thinking about it, you can triple that number.
Yeah. Just with the sheer amount of time it's going to take, inflation is going to make it go up. Like, there's no scenario in which this thing costs less than, like, in my mind, $250 or $300 billion.
Right.
If not, and I could just as easily see it end up being $1 trillion. And people are like, well, Trump will get it done in his time. This thing will become, if it got fully funded. I mean, we are the very first year it had to be fully funded. We're already having this shutdown. Even if it were fully funded without hesitation across the board, Donald Trump's kids would be dead I think we'd all be dead by the time this thing's actually being completed. Yeah. So, and I think anyone with any level of seriousness knows that. So he's asking for essentially, at this point, just to cover his tail for promising this thing, and they won't even give him that,
right? Because
they promised to not give him any money for it. So you've got these competing, like, well, I lied to these people, so we need to cover for that. Well, I lied to these people, so we need to cover for that. whatever it takes, I'm fine. Any port in a storm. They're increasing division and the personal hatred between the actors that are doing this is leading to a growing shutdown that has no end in sight. And if that doesn't excite you guys, then you're not a real libertarian.
And I mean, for the very first time in my lifetime, my very short lifetime, politicians on both sides are keeping their promises.
Yes, and it's resulting in a government shutdown.
This is what we've always said.
I'm excited about this.
We've always said, why don't they keep their promises? And they are keeping their promises. And because of it, the government is shut down.
Shut down. This is the full logical conclusion of if politicians tell the truth, the government shuts down. I didn't believe that. If you had told me that, I would have said you're lying. But here we are. Here we are. And I am excited. The comments. Sarah says, "Wait, they'll pay for my drugs. Can I keep them?" No. But I'd like that to be the case for you. And then she said, "Yeah, where are my taxes going now? Like, what are they funding with them right now? Not welfare." So Sarah, the core functions of the military, as well as Social Security and Medicare, which are the bulk of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, I believe.
Yeah.
No,
no. Did they cut Medicaid? They didn't cut Medicaid yet.
I don't believe so. Possibly or not Medicaid, but definitely Medicare and Social Security are automatically funded, which means that it doesn't matter. The government could shut down entirely. Those things are automatically funded because they are tied to laws that have set their appropriations in perpetuity with already built-in cost of living increases. All those things can be changed at any time, but if they're left to themselves, they'll just permanently keep robbing us. And there's a few other things. There's farm loans and a couple. There's a few other things that are built in. They're structured in as what they call permanent or mandatory spending. So that's what your taxes are going to. Actually, your taxes are going to fund to pay off the interest on Treasury bonds on past stuff. What that stuff's being funded by is by Federal Reserve notes that get loaned by the Federal Reserve to the U.S. government, which is why we want to end the Fed. So, and then Brian Wolf says tree fitting. Yeah, that's going to cost about tree fitting. That's actually probably possibly it might be around $350 billion. I think it'll be more, but so what's our next thing here? So yeah, no snitching. And BuzzFeed article. Oh, here's a fun one.
This is actually I came across this. Apparently, this article came out earlier this morning, but I caught it like 15 minutes before showtime.
Yeah,
but SCOTUS has. It didn't. Okay, so it didn't shoot it down because they just decided not to hear it.
No. So that's what I thought too. They have stayed so they are going to hear it. They're not doing an expedited hearing, which is what the administration wanted, but they did one even better. They went ahead and have we even said what this is yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so Donald Trump implemented through the Department of Defense implemented a ban of transgender people serving in the military. If you're transgender, you can't serve in the military. And it was fought. The lawsuits were filed against it, and a lower federal court put an injunction on the Trump administration and said you have to continue hiring transgender people, or recruiting accepting transgender people. Yeah, you have to accept them if they meet all the other requirements. You have to accept them, and it was immediately appealed to the Supreme Court, which was expected that this would end up going to the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court did was they basically put a hold on that block, which lifts the block, and now the Pentagon can say no transgenders and I believe fire existing transgenders if they know of them, which they said they will. They will hear it at some point, but the fact that they already lifted it now pretty heavily indicates that they're going to uphold the ban on transgenders once it comes to them. For whatever reason, they've chosen not to expedite it. I read it the same way you did, Matt. I'm like, what, did they just refuse to hear it? If they'd refused to hear it, the lower court ruling would have stayed in place. And
well, that's okay. So yeah, the way
to,
that I read it was that they refused to hear it, but they put the hold on it. So
okay,
yeah. So I didn't.
However, this has been handled.
Right. No matter which way it's handled.
Transgenders are not allowed in the military.
Right. That's where that one ended up. Is that transgenders?
Now that would,
I think they're waiting for Ruth to come back.
They're waiting for who?
Ruth. Justice Ruth.
Oh, the justice, yeah. Well, I thought she was just doing it from her house or something. She supposedly, so there's rumors that she, in recovering from her surgery, she now has pneumonia, which is very, very common in this type of surgery, apparently. She's denying it, or the Supreme Court sources or whatever are denying it. But she's also she's 85. In her 80s?
85.
Yeah, she's 85. An 85-year-old woman recovering from lung surgery.
Yeah.
For cancer.
Fox News accidentally aired an obituary photo of Ruth Bader Ginsburg this week.
Yep. Yeah, they sure did.
Yep, saying that Ruth Bader passed away.
They definitely did that.
Yes, they did on Fox and Friends.
On Fox and Friends, they absolutely did that. And listen, I don't wish harm on anyone, and I certainly, I mean, she's going to get replaced by someone right of center, but still an authoritarian. I mean, Gorsuch was a fluke, honestly, I think. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe another Gorsuch replaces her, but I certainly am not going to wish any death on this woman or whatever. But, I mean, she's an 85-year-old woman. Can you imagine being a leftist right now? And your hopes
shaking, just terrified
of not having conservative decisions for the next rest of your freaking life rest on an 85-year-old woman who is recovering from a lung surgery for a recurring cancer, because apparently she had cancer before.
Yeah, it started out as a broken rib from a fall. Then when she was getting the rib fixed, they found out that she had the cancer. And so then they were like, okay, well, let's get that out of there. So they took the cancer out, and then she gets pneumonia.
And she's 85.
And she's 85. So you have to be shaking in fear, because if she passes away, for the rest of most of anybody who's watching this show or listening to this show, anybody who is involved in this show in any way, for most of the rest of your life, the Supreme Court's going to be conservative.
The Supreme Court's going to be 6-3 conservative. Now, it could very well end up, I don't see Kavanaugh. And again, so Kavanaugh could have very well ended up becoming a centrist left or right justice until the Senate called him a freaking rapist.
Gang rapist.
Worse.
It's worse, I think.
It's worse. Yeah, no.
I'm not sure if there's a sliding scale on rape, actually.
But it's not. It's bad enough to say you're a rapist. It's another thing to say, were you the head of planning gang rape parties?
That's true.
That's intense. And Gorsuch, who's almost like a libertarian, I guess. And Trump's gonna be president for at least 2 more years, so she'll be 87. Yeah. And
2 more years to almost the day.
To almost the day, and if he gets reelected, I can.
If he gets reelected,
guarantee.
If he gets reelected, he gets 2 more.
He gets at least 1 more, and possibly 2 more.
Yeah, I would say 2.
2 of them are not Kennedy. It is Kennedy.
It's Kennedy.
No, Souter.
Either.
Kennedy's who just retired, right?
Oh, Kennedy did just retire. You're right.
Yeah. That's what I got confused. So he'll definitely be replacing Ginsburg. Either she passes away or she just isn't going to hold on any longer, because she'll be 91 at that point. And he's possibly even replacing Souter. And then supposedly, and I don't know how exaggerated this is, but Justice Sotomayor has health issues,
Right.
which again could, she's, she's not, working a physical job, so she could very well continue on. But I mean, even two more, I mean, you could end up with a 7-2 Donald Trump court for the rest of your freaking life. I can't imagine being a leftist right now.
No,
but
that's got to be absolutely terrifying.
That has to be horrifying. But have no fear, folks, because Kamala Harris has announced, I guess on Martin Luther King Day, she announced her bid. She's gonna, and we had talked about this a little bit in the last one, that it was expected she was going to enter the field. Kamala Harris has announced that she is going to be that she's running for president for 2020, and so now it's who? It's Kamala Harris, Liz Warren, some guy that I still don't know his name.
Julian Castro.
Oh, is Julian Castro? He announced he's running too?
Yeah, Julian Castro announced. But
I'm thinking of the guy that like announced in like 2017.
Oh, that guy, yeah, the Maryland guy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no one knows.
Hawaii.
Tulsi, has Tulsi officially announced?
She announced. Yeah, she announced.
Not including the guy that no one
Joe Biden
cares about. Has he announced?
I'm 90% certain.
At the very least, 4 plus a guy that no one knows. 4 people have announced. This field's going to be really, 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 really.
It's going to be 2016 GOP field.
Yeah,
it's going to be insane.
Yeah, because they all sense blood in the water. They all think Donald Trump's incredibly unpopular. We just won a big, midterm election, which the results were not terribly definitive, but they certainly did okay.
Sarah Brannion, no, it's not. It's not Martin O'Malley. He said no because he has stepped aside for Beto O'Rourke.
Has he officially announced?
Not officially, not yet.
No, but he's going to be. I mean, he's live streaming his teeth cleaning, so he's definitely running. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a crowded field because they all want to be the next president, and they think that they have a real shot at it because he's, Trump is unpopular, right? Plus, they are convinced this shutdown is going to harm his popularity. I think that they're completely overestimating
how much people care about the shutdown. There is 800,000. 800,000? Yeah, 800,000. There are 800,000 people who really care about this shutdown.
They're underestimating, and for those who do care, they're underestimating how quickly everyone will jump to the next squirrel that's on the news. Like, I mean, we're talking about a freaking kid with a hat on. Does anyone even remember what we were supposed to be mad about 3 weeks ago? Like, give me a freaking break. That's going to have staying power, except with a bunch of federal employees who, as Donald Trump himself has said, they mostly just vote Democrat anyway. Like, he said that. Yeah. And, I mean, it's just, he said it, and it's true. Yeah, so you've got a ton of people that are running already. And I mean, it's early. It is early in the field. I still think what's going to happen, one of two things is going to happen. Either Democrats are going to fall in love with a woman of color, probably Kamala, and say, keep hope alive, Obama. This is Obama all over again. A mixed race black woman because she's half Indian and half black, and she's the, we're gonna do it, and she's a woman this time too, and she's meeting all of our intersectional needs. Or the other thing that's going to happen is the anti-Biden vote is going to get split up so much that Biden's going to get it.
Yeah.
Because Midwesterners and a lot of other people might get a little spooked by Kamala, or not. I mean, Midwesterners came out and forced to vote for Obama, so I may very well be wrong. I think it's either going to be Kamala or Biden, and I tend to lean towards it being Biden.
So the question, okay, so the question with Midwesterners, so Biden was Obama's VP. So they're going to take a look at that, and they're going to go, oh, well, he was good enough for Obama. So why wouldn't he be good enough for me?
Why would he be good enough for now?
But also, they're going to take a look at it and say, were we given everything that we were promised under Obama?
Right.
And they're like, okay, I did the vote so I didn't appear to be racist to all my family and friends. Because say what you will, a lot of people made that vote.
Yeah.
They voted, McCain was a terrible candidate, but they voted for Obama because they did not want to appear racist. There's an awful Dane Cook special in which he's like, you ever hook up with a black girl? And she says, say something racist to me. He's like, I don't even know what to say. I voted for McCain. And they're going to take a look at that and they're going to be like, okay, well, I made that vote. I didn't get what I was promised. This guy was good enough for that guy. I'm going to vote for this guy.
Yep. And which is, I think that's going to happen. And then anyone but Biden vote. Oh, here I got it.
Okay.
Cohen and Wright attorneys at law. May I help you?
Man, they hung up quick.
Why don't these people want to talk to me?
I 100% believe that they just kind of want to leave a message, but just kind of leave a message and see if we'll call them back because they are not really prepared with an answer.
Okay, so you know what I'm going to do next is when the next one comes in, or you can do it if you want, I'm going to say what sounds like a voicemail message. And then, I don't know, make a beeping noise. Beep. Or and I'll let you, you're in charge of making the beeping noise. And then as they're doing the message, say, aha! Talk to me.
I'm here. I was listening. I was screening.
I got you, you bastard. Now have me represent you in court.
I was screening my calls.
Now tell me it was the wrong call, you jerk. So I think Kamala Harris is gonna. It's either I really think it's either gonna be Kamala Harris or Biden for completely different reasons. It really depends on how it shapes up. And if Sarah mentioned Hillary running, if Hillary Clinton.
If she has that kind of, like, I know she's got hubris, but if she's got that kind of hubris, dear God.
Chutzpah Clinton will be my name for her. If she
I hope
if she walked away from this last contest and said, you know what America needs?
Me. Yeah, if she runs, that'll be really impressive.
That will be, man. I would vote for her in the primary. If she runs, I'm voting for Hillary in the primary. Screw it.
Do you have open primary there?
Anymore. What's that?
Do you have open primary there?
Yes. You can only vote in one or the other.
Right.
But yeah. I'm showing up for that, bitch. You know what? And by bitch, I meant the election, not Hillary.
Works both ways.
Whatever. I'll show up.
Just like Hillary.
I will absolutely 100% vote for Hillary in the primary if she runs, as a combination of what Rush Limbaugh called the chaos strategy,
the chaos theory.
Yeah, Operation Chaos or whatever.
Yeah,
where
whatever
he was
that was.
People to vote for Hillary so Obama wouldn't get it or whatever.
It wasn't so Obama wouldn't get it. It was so it would push. Like Obama was going to get it, and they knew that, but it would push that whole thing out longer.
Oh, okay. So a combination of that. And really not even that, but just so much as like to just have chaos in general.
Right.
I think the most chaos I could create in the primary season is to vote for Hillary in the primary. And that and also just kind of a little tip of the hat to her. A little tip of the hat to the old girl that you have demonstrated. America has said we would rather Donald Trump be president than you. And you go, you know what? I'll see you in 4 years. I will frickin' vote for you in the primary, not in the
not in the general,
but in the primary.
Nobody's going to vote for her in the general.
No one's voting for her in the general. I will 100% vote for you in the primary because I like chutzpah like that. It's the same reason I'm enjoying Donald Trump as president. I will absolutely 100% vote for you. If for no other reason, you should run. So Kamala Harris announced. Speaking of Americans doing things that are kind of weird and is that, I guess that's a segue.
Let's run
That's
with
a good
that.
segue, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
Kind of weird.
it's kind of
Sure.
it's kind of weird.
I don't know what you I don't know
kinda
what your
weird.
personal life is like apparently, but
It's weird. It's kind of weird. So anyway, so there's a Did you read about this or did you just see what I wrote?
no, I saw the article and I saw that the Taiwanese stewardesses, flight attendants, whatever you call them now, were giving a press conference.
Right. So I'm gonna pull this up because this story, I have to just tell the story as it was. So guys,
The only way to tell a story.
yes, but hold on, let me get that's someone making fun of it. I want to get an actual news. Actual news story. Here we go.
I hope everybody has been on the social media, but I mean, again, if you don't know about the Red Hat Kid, you probably haven't been. But this was one of those stories that I looked at as I was scrolling through the old Facebook today, and I saw it and I read the headline and I stared at it for like a good minute, and I went, "Nope, I'm not clicking it. I can't do it. I cannot allow myself to get dumber." And then Spike put it in the show notes.
You have to. This is. Oh man, I think this is the best. I'm gonna get. Okay, here we go. So guys, an obese American.
An obese American. Shocking.
Shocking. An obese American. He went onto a I guess Taiwanese Air. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Taiwanese airline. Oh no, EVA Air. EVA Air. It's a Taiwanese airline. He went on a flight from LA to Taipei in Taiwan. And the male passenger, described as being an American weighing around 440 pounds. He boarded the plane on a wheelchair. He asked to be placed on a row with 3 free seats. Later, he made a more unusual request, asking for help in the bathroom, explaining that he recently had surgery on his hand and couldn't wipe himself. He wasn't able to get into the economy class bathroom, so they took him to the business class bathroom. As soon as they put him in, he asked the flight attendant to pull his underwear down. The cabin crew, the flight attendant crew was entirely female. They were very reluctant, but he pleaded and he threatened to poop in his pants and on the floor. And so they pulled his pants down. They tried to use a blanket to cover him. But he slapped it away, and then she put on surgical glove. Go ahead.
Just that part. They tried to put a blanket over him, and he slapped it away. It's like, no, you're going to watch me do this.
You're going to look at it.
You're going to watch me as I do this.
Right. So then which is the first sign that maybe this isn't just a medical necessity.
Right.
Because he slapped it away. Then she put the one of the flight attendants put on a pair of surgical gloves and pulled down his underwear. He also insisted that the bathroom door be kept open and that he wouldn't be able to breathe if the door was closed. They closed the door and said, "No, we have to close the door." Soon after, he hit the emergency thing again and requested that a flight attendant come inside and wipe his butt after he pooped. And they said no initially. He threatened to stay in the bathroom for the entire flight, which would have obviously inconvenienced all the other passengers who probably also needed poop. Because this isn't like, when you fly like from Florida to New York or something like that. This is LA to Taipei. This is a long flight. Everyone there is going to need to use the bathroom, right? So it's not like an hour or two. Like you're in there for several hours. I don't know how many hours, but long enough where you got to poop.
Multiple.
And this is the most times I've said poop on this show.
Definitely the most times you've said poop on this show.
Easily, like combined, ever.
This may be the most times poop has ever been used on this show.
Moving
collectively.
forward, I hope that we don't talk about poop at all.
I hope we talk about it every show.
Well, just not say it like this.
Fair.
So this is where it gets kind of weird. Remember I was talking about it being
This
kinda
is
weird.
this is where it gets kind of weird. We aren't
This is
at
where it
weird.
gets kind of weird.
We aren't at weird yet.
Prior to this, not weird. So the flight attendants felt like they had no choice, and so this flight attendant put on 3 layers of surgical gloves and started. This is a true story, by the way. Like there was a press conference.
Not the
this
Onion.
is not Midget Mafia.
Yeah, this is not the Onion.
This is not the Onion. This is an actual, like, there's a video of them talking about this and pictures of the guy in various states of distress. And so they put on the surgical gloves and she starts wiping. As she does so, he begins moaning in pleasure and yelling, "Deeper, deeper." And then he starts claiming that she hadn't done a good enough job wiping her and made her wipe 3 more times before he was satisfied. She locked herself in the bathroom, crying and vomiting, unable to wash away the man's stench. They're calling on EVA Air to have some kind of protocol for this, for example, hiring male attendants, and preventing similar passengers from boarding unattended, maybe making them like sign something saying that they can poop for themselves. And the
I feel as though that is just something that no matter where you are, unless you are, I don't have children, 5 or younger, I don't know. Unless you are like 5 or younger, you should not be allowed on a plane. Like there shouldn't be a law, but I can understand if EVA made a
EVA area.
Yeah, made a decision that you have to be able to poop on your own to be on our flight.
Or have someone with you. Like, I mean, there are people that are disabled or special needs or like little kids. And you know, they can't, like you said, you know, less than 5 years old, you have a toddler or whatever, but there's someone there with you that can do this. Like
right.
if you're someone that needs this thing, there are people that you know, fly and they have all sorts of issues and they need help, and that's fine. This guy went on his own and then okay, so bad enough that he asked for this stuff. It's one thing if you're like, look, I'm so sorry, I need this help. He's pulling away, he's saying, leave the door open, harder, deeper. And, I mean, this is
wipe deeper. Me deeper.
Yeah, this is clearly the guy was milking it, literally. And or I guess she was, huh?
Yeah, she was milking it. He was trying to get it milked.
Yeah, I think he was in a this story. I'm the one who put it on there, so I can't get too upset about it. But this is really that's peak American, by the way.
Brian Wolf says they shouldn't have let him back in the USA. Can we disown him?
I'm
okay with it.
I'm okay with that. Like I'm not a supporter of immigration or and I think technically that's like a violation. I think you can't do that with an American, but I wouldn't lose much sleep over it because I'm not sure where he'd go.
Yeah, I don't think Taiwan wants him. Taiwan doesn't want him.
Definitely not Taiwan. Sarah says, no, gloves are like condoms. More than one pair causes friction and they break. Oh, my God.
That's actually a very valid point. That's a very good point. I wouldn't know. I don't use condoms. But from what I've always heard is that...
what I've heard about condoms.
What I've heard about condoms is that if you use more than one, they break. And
so she's trying to protect herself. And she may have, and plus she had to keep going back. So there may have, oh, Lord. No wonder she's vomiting. This story, man. I'm walking to economy bathroom and back. I'm not following that guy. That's the other thing. I wouldn't want to go in after him.
I'm not going in. I will hold it for the next 20 hours or whatever it is.
So what else here? I'm a registered Democrat, so I'm all in on that. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, well, it is time to vote for Hillary in the primary.
I was going to say, let's wait till she announced, and then we'll start our own Operation Chaos.
Seriously.
For the people in open.
Seriously. I will tell you now, if that lady, if she does that, I will be 100% behind her in the primaries and actively and vocal about it.
I will be
That's
on this show, very excited about it because that is hours of good content and information. Well, entertainment better than information. It'll be hours of good entertainment.
Infotainment.
Infotainment. Yes.
Yeah, no, I will jump all over Hillary in the primary. That'll be me. I will be with her for the primary at least. Crystal Diane McManigal, my god baby mama, said that would not have happened on an American airline. There are laws that prevent someone from providing care that they are not specifically trained for. An American flight attendant would have flat out told him no. That is what would happen here.
Yeah.
They'd say no, and he would,
deal with the dirty shorts, man.
He'd have to deal with the consequences of that.
Right.
And that was. I'm still glad we ran with the story.
Me too.
I'm standing on that. What else do we have? So this was a news heavy week, by the way, guys.
All right. So
speaking of
Asian
Chinese
areas,
Asian shenanigans,
Chinese geneticist has created the first gene edited babies too.
Okay,
because they're twins. He did a little messing around with the DNA on a couple of twins, and now he has made them resistant to HIV, which, all right, not bad. Okay. Cool. China vows to punish him for violating rules to carry out the unethical for personal fame. All right.
Also understandable.
Also understandable. Yeah. Like, I saw the movie Gattaca in 1998. Or whatever.
When you were a tiny child.
Yeah, when I was real young. My parents should not have let me watch that movie.
You were like little.
Yeah, real small. But yeah, I saw the movie Gattaca, and I saw the issues that could potentially come from genetically altering somebody's DNA. And that was 20 years ago. And
it only got more scary.
It only got more scary, yeah. And we continue to, I mean, they're going for it. So the question here is, okay, well, my questions here are, why is it always twins? Like, you got Goebbels from World War II always doing the experiments on the twins. You got this guy doing stuff on the twins. Like, why is it always twins? And have these people never seen a sci-fi movie? Do they not know the dangers of what this could turn into? Oh, sure, yeah, you want a baby that has blue eyes because, blue eyes look better. Of course, I understand that. I've got blue eyes. But this could potentially turn into so much worse. It's like the AI scare that everybody has right now. Because we're getting...
It will absolutely get worse.
It will absolutely get worse. Because we're putting all of this hope into, okay, soon we're going to... For the genetically altered children, we don't know what that's going to turn into. Like, that's how you get X-Men, which sounds awesome, but then you remember Magneto is an X-Men.
It's not awesome. It's not awesome, guys, because I can tell you right now, if you watch any of the X-Men movies or look at the comic books, the Earth is in a constant state of cataclysm. Humanity is constantly at threat of extinction. Entire cities are destroyed. That's definitely, we don't want to go in that direction. My main question is, they said that he made the twins resistant to HIV. How does he know? Has he been injecting these children with HIV?
That's actually, that was a point I didn't even think about. I was more concerned.
I mean, you want to talk about unethical.
Yeah. Injecting infant children, newborn babies with HIV.
Newborn baby twins.
With HIV, just to find out if his genetic experiment in the womb prepartum.
If he did, he had to sweat a little bit for that results of that one, huh? I mean,
yeah,
because if they do resist, it's like, yes, I nailed it, and
but
if not,
they don't,
it's like, I just gave HIV to babies.
Yep.
Which is almost assuredly illegal in China.
They were girls, so no.
Oh, so if the parents already had one child, then you could say you were enforcing the one-child policy in the most brutal way imaginable.
Right.
There's a lot about this story, but that's my big question: is how do you know that they're resistant to HIV? Are you just in theory they're resistant, or did you actually inject them with HIV, or maybe the mother already had HIV?
That also
I
could.
I want to know.
That also could be. Yeah, there are a lot of different aspects to this. Yeah, a lot of different aspects to this story. Know which it is. And I have no real clue, because all I read was about how China's pissed. How China's pissed, and he's like, "Well, I did it, so I mean, whatever."
What are you gonna do now?
Stop me, I guess. Oh wait, you didn't.
What are you gonna do? Make the kids have AIDS?
Yeah, you're gonna give the kids AIDS? I already tried.
The kids AIDS? Like, I already tried that. God. So gene editing is something that interests me because the few diseases that are out there that aren't curable yet, types of cancers, autoimmune illnesses. I have MS, which is an autoimmune disease. These are things that, we've already figured out how to kill pathogens and things like that. Sometimes cures. What's that?
We lost you for a second. You're back though.
Oh, I'm back? Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
How long did you lose me?
Not long. Just about 5 seconds.
Oh, okay. We've, most of the, bacteria, they find cures for it. Viruses, they haven't found cures for, but they have found things that stop its spread and make it where it can't multiply and things like that. And they have vaccines for those things. All that's really left in terms of like human illnesses that they haven't been able to figure out how to stop are systemic illnesses like cancers, autoimmune illnesses. And they're caused by a myriad of different influences, everything from genetics to environmental stressors to diet and exercise and all sorts of other things. Gene editing will be the way, more than likely, that they will be able to say, okay, this series of gene sequences is what causes MS in some people. This is what causes diabetes or leukemia or whatever. And if someone starts to have that thing, they can simply just edit those genes and they don't have that anymore, or it stops advancing, and they can just deal with whatever was initially caused, and they'll eventually be able to treat it like a vaccine with kids, where they'll be like, all right, we turn this off, this off, this off, this off, because literally all those things do, these specific sequences do, is cause you to possibly get leukemia or MS or diabetes or multiple myeloma or whatever.
Parkinson's, Huntington's.
What's that?
Parkinson's, Huntington's,
any of these like uncured ALS, any of these types of things. So it's very promising. It's also horrifying because you think side effects of drugs are bad. How about the side effects of messing with someone's genetics, and where we don't know what's going to happen 20, 30, 40 years from now, and there's going to be a massive rush. If there's a way to cure cancer, even a specific type of cancer, if there's a way to flat out cure leukemia, they're not going to say, let's wait 30 years and see what it does. They're going to be giving it to anyone that, has leukemia or is at risk of leukemia. So it's a horrifying thing, but at the same time, it's like,
this is how you get a bunch of Cronenbergs.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. It's how the Marvel series of movies ends up happening.
Except probably not as attractive.
No, they'll definitely be ugly.
Yeah,
and they will and it will absolutely end poorly.
Right. It will not end well.
It will not end well, and it will be as, just think, every time we're like, oh wow, how this is fun to watch, and you're watching like an entire city being destroyed.
And here,
will be real.
Here's my other thing on gene editing is, let's say gene editing becomes something of it's the standard. Right? And it starts out with stuff like that, where it's like, okay, we don't want our child to have MS, or we don't want our child to have Parkinson's or Huntington's or whatever. And then it's going to turn into, I want my child to have blue eyes and blonde hair and, be 6 feet tall and athletic or something like that. And then they get there. And then you are going to have people who are going to do things like, oh, I don't want a gay child. And so they're going to start editing the genes so their child is no longer gay. Like,
it's super masculine or super feminine, right?
Right. And they're going to eventually, somebody's going to get mad about it. And they're going to say, we need to get rid of this because of this reason. Not because of, the extreme moral outrage that you should have about it, but because, oh, well, no, you're a homo.
It's discriminatory.
Right. It's discriminatory against gay people. Like, for all of these reasons, this is an awful, awful idea. Just love the child you have.
It's an awful idea that is absolutely going to happen.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
Because technology doesn't not happen. Like it doesn't not. That's what Pandora's box is. It's like, okay, we have like nuclear weapons. I don't know many people who argue that it's good that nuclear weapons exist. Nothing you can do about it now.
No, they're out there.
They're here.
They're
here. So we should all be able to have them. But that's, by the way, just my opinion. I don't know what Matt thinks about that. But
no, I'm on board with that.
Legalize recreational plutonium.
Yeah,
and
give me some.
But it's there, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the gene editing is going to be the same thing. As soon as you open that box, even if you ban it or whatever else, if someone wants their kid to be a hyper masculine, blue-eyed boy with light skin, they're going to do it. Or at the very least, if they want to make sure their kid doesn't have leukemia or lupus or whatever, and there's a series of genes that can be shut off to do that, they're going to do it. Yeah. And they're not going to be there because most people don't think that far ahead. They're not going to think about what it's going to do 30 years from now for the kid or what it's going to do future generations now. It's like GMO for kids.
Yeah, I mean, if you could stop your child from having ALS, most parents would be like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Of course they would, especially if there's a high risk of it in their family.
Right.
Like,
but at the same time, you don't know, like same thing. You don't know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen instead?
Right. 3 generations, 4 generations from now. Like,
yeah, not even to them. What's going to happen 200 years from now? They might start coming out with horns or something. Like, you don't know. Now, again, you think, okay, well then, they'll get the horn suppressant at that point, at least my kid won't have ALS. So I get the idea behind it, but there's so many ethical landmines with this and so many things that can happen as a result of it. It's absolutely going to happen. You cannot shut that box once it opens. Fotini Henderson said, good question. And doesn't HIV clearance take months to 2 years from point of possible exposure? That was my first thought. So it turns out that it's actually, it's the threshold's lower than it used to be. They're able to give you a test result that is pretty accurate. I think it's like 90% accurate or 90 something percent accurate within like 24 hours. The test that's like 100% accurate, I think takes 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
But that's an excellent point. Was he injecting these kids with AIDS, HIV, and waiting 3 weeks to give the test to know for certain? Like, that's my biggest thing I want to know is like, how the hell did you test this theory? And what kind of, you think that Hillary Clinton has stones if she enters the 2016? That's more like hubris than stones. When you inject a kid with AIDS because you're pretty sure you made them immune to it, that is ballsy. That's Teddy Roosevelt level ballsy. That is ballsy and or sociopathic.
Yeah,
because you have to be willing to be like, yeah, you know what? Okay, I got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Like, you have to have that mentality of like, well, if I'm going to have these AIDS-free kids in the future, you might have a couple kids with AIDS out there. What are you going to do? So the Chinese government's going to probably gulag him.
Oh yeah, that dude is disappearing unless he is pulled out by a different country.
Yeah, and then ironically,
probably the Russians, if I'm betting.
Yeah, or us. Because like we did with like the U.S. did with all the Nazis they took to build the space program that didn't exist because the Earth is flat.
Right.
Birds don't exist. Also, by the way, that's my new thing. Birds aren't real.
I have heard that from so many people recently.
Yeah, have you noticed you haven't seen as many birds recently? It's because of government funding.
Because government funding. It's also winter.
That is definitely winter. I love these. Australia is not real. Neither is Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming not real.
Wyoming is absolutely 100% fake. It's North Dakota you're looking at, and I'm sticking by that. Why not? So this gene editing thing is crazy. Speaking of someone saying something scientific-ish that's garbage, and I don't agree with it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the newly minted congresswoman from
the Bronx,
from the Bronx, Sandy from the Bronx.
Sandy from the Bronx.
She said, "Is this an actual quote, right?"
The part that you pasted in is an actual quote. Yeah.
Okay. She said, basically, she said we got 12 years to live, and she said, I think part of it that is generational, and that millennials and people in Gen Z, which is the young people, and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, first of all, the way she talks is, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years, and we're like, totally like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. The biggest issue is, how are we going to pay for it? Your biggest issue is, how are we going to pay for it? And like, this is the war. This is our World War II. And I think for younger people looking at this are more like, how are we saying let's take it easy when 3,000 Americans died last year? Is that her assertion? 3,000 Americans died last year of climate change?
So she's saying that 3,000 Americans died last year from climate change because of the hurricane that hit you.
Oh,
yeah.
Because hurricanes did not exist.
No, hurricanes did not exist. Hurricanes did not exist before this. But yeah, so she went on and she was... The second half that we don't have in here, she said... The UN says that we only have 12 years. Climate change, because of climate change, we only have 12 years left on this planet, I guess. If that's true, if that is true, why pay debt? Why do anything to work toward a better future? Everything that she is saying is 100%. I don't know if she's doing it intentionally or if it's just...
She's a pure politician. She is a pure fear-mongering. She sends out the same type of fundraising emails that all the other schmucks do. Like, she is a pure politician.
But everything that she is saying, oh, well, if we don't fix this now, we're not going to... And, nothing's going to change because when you have China and you have India and you got Russia, who are the biggest contributors to pollution in the world... not changing their policies, and we're like, oh, well, we have to do something here at home, and we're like 2% or whatever it is, and it's like,
and reducing the United States in 2017, which was the last year they had figures for, had reduced the total net output of greenhouse gases by 480 million or billion tons, or however they measure it, a sizable amount. And it was completely out. That reduction was completely outstripped by increases in China, India, I think Brazil, and some other country.
Somebody else.
So it's like you said, we could tomorrow stop producing all, including breathing, exhaling, producing all climate gases, greenhouse gases, and it wouldn't stop anything. No. And I've yet to talk. So I went into this with an open mind because. You know what? Just because a Republican says something's a hoax doesn't mean it's a hoax. Just because a Democrat says something is, the case doesn't mean it isn't. And there are some scientists who absolutely say that it's anthropomorphic. And so I gathered my information, and I saw that for as far down as they can drill into the core, which means they can go back, I think, like 450,000 years of estimated climate data. We are well within the range that it naturally goes. We're certainly going up higher than we have in the last, say, 50 or 60 years. But if you even go out 200 years, we're well within that range. If you go back 400 and some odd thousand years, it's a joke. We're in a very narrow range compared to the wild swings it used to make. We are considerably cooler than it was during the Roman, I think, Holocene period, they call it, during like the time of the Roman Empire. It was considerably warmer on the climate than it is now, with almost no greenhouse gases to speak of. There was no industrialization. my question, and I've yet to ever get an answer on this from any climate scientist, is how much of the current climate change is happening as a result of human anthropomorphism, in human involvement? How much of it is caused by that? How much of a reduction would need to have it to bring it back within a normal range? And how long would that take? Because if you're telling me we have 12 years and we got to do this, we got to do that, show me a plan. Don't just say we got to start a carbon tax. Tell me exact numbers of what needs to be done. They don't even pretend that they know.
Mm-mm. No.
So what are you coming to me for? They don't even pretend that they know what percentage is being caused by human activity. But it definitely is. Well, how much? Well, I don't know. Well, how much do we need to cut? I don't know.
And
well, how long is it going to take? I don't know that either.
Yeah, and the entire climate change thing, which I normally don't go out on the record on saying stuff like this. The entire climate change theory is strictly based on the fact that we will then become more dependent on the government. The government will then be more involved in our lives. And so we have 12 years left. People are going to stop paying their debts. People are going to stop taking care of the stuff that they're supposed to be taking care of.
That's true.
And then after the 12 years is up and it's like, oh crap, like now I have all of this debt, and they're saying it's going to be another 15 years because whenever
these kids,
whenever an Inconvenient Truth came out in 2000, what the hell ever, they said that
it was 03, 04.
Right, but we only had till 2015 or 16 or something before the world was going to end because we didn't change. And
by 2017, where I live in Myrtle Beach was supposed to be completely underwater.
Right, and so they just keep pushing it out, but everybody hears that and they're like, well, we're not doing anything about it, so why should I take care of any of the crap that I need to take care of? And now these people are going to be more dependent on the government. Call me Alex Jones if you want for that conspiracy theory, but that is 100% what I think that is.
That's more valid than anything they're saying, honestly. There was a guy that said, and I forget who he was, he said, if this was real, if the threat was real, insurance companies wouldn't be giving insurance policies on, they would be saying, we're not giving insurance policies on, areas past X because it's too close to the water and the waters are going to rise. And now, obviously, they don't know everything that's going to happen. I mean, they insure in hurricane-prone areas, but you have to think that there'd be a lot more momentum in industry outside of government. It is government that is running around flapping their wings and saying the sky's going to fall. Industry is saying, I don't think this is true.
I don't think it's happening.
It might be true.
Right.
It might be true, but I don't think it is. Again, I'm open to the idea that there may be some human involvement, although the more I read about it, the less inclined I am to believe that. And also, the more I engage with so-called climate experts, if they'll even. But by the way, you want to talk about a smug group of people? This is why I want the Earth to be flat. If you challenge someone who calls themselves a climate scientist, their entire argumentation consists of the appeal to authority fallacy. Well, I went to this school and I went to that school. Okay, I have questions for you. Answer them. What school you went to means nothing to me. I have questions. You don't like the fact that a almost high school dropout is asking you this question. I don't care. If you want me to take you seriously, I have these questions, and no one can answer. How? It's a simple question. If I tell you that something terrible is happening, that people are doing something terrible, and if we don't stop it, we're all going to die. And you go, okay, well, how much are they causing? If I can't answer that, then nothing else I say after that should be taken that seriously.
Nope.
If I further can't answer how much needs to be stopped in order for the bad thing to happen, then it's a joke that I'm even talking. Go ahead.
No, that's all I got on that entire subject. Oh, also, she was on Stephen Colbert last night, I think. Mm-hmm. And he said, people have been saying that you and some of the other junior Congress women who have been out there doing things need to wait your turn and be silenced. Now, I need to say this in a polite way for TV, but I also know you're from the Bronx. So how many do you give? And she said 0.
Oh, wow.
So she was just saying she gives 0
F's.
Yep.
We don't swear on this show.
We try not to.
Often. How brave of her to hit that softball. Listen, I don't particularly dislike Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think she's every other politician that came before. She's just more social media savvy, and she's young, and she dances poorly, but she's saying the same crap that. As soon as she fell in line and backed Pelosi, I'm like, you're full of garbage. You're not coming in to do anything. By the way, I want to pivot back to Kamala Harris very quickly. Kamala Harris is probably one of the most pro-prison, pro-hard on offenders politician that's out there. But easily more pro-prison and pro-enforcement and incarceration than Donald Trump. Easily. She was against this prison reform that just happened. She is easily a hardcore. She has put more black people in prison than anyone else that's announced that they're running so far. It's hilarious to me that the left will look at her and go, well, she's a woman of color and she's telling us to resist, so I'm throwing my hat in with her. And it's like, she would make Obama look like a choir boy if she got in.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of war and prosecution, she is so tough on crime. And she's now going to pretend she isn't because she supports the bail reform. Great, you support bail reform. How many people did you use that to lock away? Use the fact that they couldn't afford bail to get them to plea on something that they probably didn't even do, or to snitch on someone else. Give me a break. You support bail reform. So I just wanted to talk about that. So I guess this is really the last thing. Speaking of, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Sandy?
No, God, no. I just wanted to say that when people are like, how does Rush Limbaugh do a 3-hour show? And I said, it's because he's got commercials. You and I can do a good 2 hours and 15 minutes so far.
If
no
we
commercials.
Had commercials, guys,
this show would go on forever.
This show would be a periodical where people would just like check in and see what we're talking about and then, pop out. It's like, well, it's lunchtime. I wonder what they're talking about for lunchtime. And I do it too, because that's money. So speaking of people that Matt finds attractive, saying and doing disappointing things.
Sure. We'll go
guys, for those of you who are real ones, who have been around, long-time listeners,
who've been around since the what would be the proper one? There's BS, which is before Spike, and AS after Spike, or DS during Spike.
During Spike, the era of Spike, the year of our Spike.
Right, the SE, the Spike era. If you've been around for the Spike era, for SE, Muddied Waters of Freedom SE, you probably know that we started a hashtag campaign called...
Yeah, we started a campaign called... Oh, go ahead.
Called Matandis. Hashtag Matandis. But
this was a...
This was... Okay, yeah, that probably requires more of a explanation for those of you who don't know what that is. But this was a campaign to get Candace Owens from Turning Point USA, for anybody who doesn't know,
right,
to go out on one date with me. Just one.
Just one
date. That's all I wanted. But as of today, it appears as though hashtag Matandis is done.
It's really sad.
It is sad because
I may still keep doing it just because I don't want to let it go.
And I understand that because I don't want to let it go either. But she got engaged.
She got engaged to not to
Charlie Kirk.
Not to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Not to Charlie Kirk.
A guy that looks a lot like Charlie Kirk, which tells you something there.
Right.
But not Charlie Kirk.
Not Charlie Kirk.
In fact, when I first saw it and I saw the thumbnail, I'm like, she went and got engaged to Charlie Kirk, and then I looked it up and I was like, no, not Charlie Kirk, some other guy that I've never heard of.
Yeah, some Josh Gordon, I think.
Something. And so she went and got engaged to a pathetic attempt at a facsimile of Matt Wright. And it's her loss, I'll tell you.
She could have had the real thing.
She could have had the real thing.
And she went with the facsimile.
Women... sometimes women just make bad choices.
It happens.
And it's sad to watch because it's like, you're beautiful. You're on the peak of your prime.
You are the peak of everything good.
Of everything that's good that's going to happen in your life. And especially now, because, you didn't even give Matt a chance. It's definitely downhill from here, lady. I would say.
Between this decision and the decision to link up with Kanye.
This is easily a worse decision
than linking with Kanye.
Than that whole Kanye explosion that happened. That was more of a strategic failure.
Right.
This was a systemic, lifelong poor choice that you made. I forgive you because that's who I am as a person, and I don't hold on to things.
Yeah, like I'm not holding any ill will, and I hope your marriage works out. But
yeah, I'm not mad. No. I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
It's just I'm sad. I'm sad for you. I'm sad for Matt, but I'm more sad for Candace. And it's just it was entirely preventable. I think is the most difficult part about it.
But in the end, I am a gracious loser. And I will say that I wish her the best of luck in this marriage. You're staring randomly.
I'm trying to decide what I'm prepared to wish.
I wish her.
I wish that this goes as well as one could expect a union with someone who isn't Matt Wright to go.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. If you ask any of my exes, that would probably be really well.
Well, you know what? I'm not asking them. But so Sarah says, oh, geez, she's not married yet. Challenge him to a duel. That's, I don't know this guy's shooting skills. So
yeah, I'm not really willing to take that duel.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see what this guy's like. Because, I mean, there's a good chance this guy's like a hunter or something.
Yeah, and he probably
put that on Matt.
He probably goes to the shooting range a lot more often than I do.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking is, this might maybe not be a good idea. But I just, listen, Candace, this isn't set in stone yet.
There's still time.
And
you're waiting until the end of the year.
You've got till whenever it is that you're getting. Do they have a date set?
She said sometime at the end of the year.
Okay. So you have, Sarah says a fencing. Sarah wants to see this fight because she said a fencing match.
A fencing match.
You know what?
Can we do a fencing match on the border? It'll only cost $5.7 billion.
Aha. If you want to see actual fencing ever happen on the border, you take Matt and Candace's guy down there
and have a little bit do a little fencing.
Old pointy sticks.
Yep.
So yeah. So it's, you know what? I wish Candace, I wish you as well as one could reasonably expect in this kind of situation.
Yes.
And I think that you will, if you're not already regretting it, I think you will. And I think that, I don't want to wish you anything bad. But I just,
just so you know, Candace, this smile would have been just for you. But no, now it's for some other girl that I have yet to meet, probably.
But it's totally happening. No, you're definitely going to meet her. And when it happens,
well, I may have already met her and just don't know that she's the one.
Also very possible.
Very true. Yeah.
Very, very possible. And it's more than likely not going to be Candace. And it saddens me for her. But you know what? I mean, I don't know that this guy is a serial abuser. I don't know that. But I don't not know that.
There's no way to tell.
There's probably ways to tell, but I don't. I'm.
There's no way for us to tell.
There's no way for us to.
There's no way.
We're not going to find out.
Yeah, we're not going to know.
So I just hope I'm wrong.
Me too.
For a few reasons, but I hope that you're wrong. I hope I'm wrong, or I hope that I'm not. I hope my intuition here is off. So anyway, wish you well. Hashtag.
Matandis.
Mattistery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery who Matt is going to get. Do we have anything else we're
No,
talking about?
God, no. We just talked for 2.5 hours. I'm losing my voice.
Oh, come on. I'm sure there's something we got to touch on. Huh? No? Okay, well, then I guess it's a social media thing, right?
Yeah. So remember, everybody. You can... who do you have on the show tomorrow?
Oh, I have Tom Arnold, the former chair of the Libertarian... Or I think he still is. He either still is or was. We're about to find out. Chair of the Libertarian Party of Tennessee. He is running for the U.S. Senate seat in Tennessee for 2020, and he is Liberty Claus. He's well known as a guy that looks exactly like Santa Claus, and we're gonna have a really fun. I've been trying to get him on for a while, so we're gonna have a fun time talking about his Senate run and his beliefs and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's who I'm having tomorrow night. Or I guess. Yeah, it's still technically Tuesday. Yeah. So it'll be tomorrow night at 8. And then who do you have for Writer's Block?
For the Writer's Block on Thursday, I've got Joshua Smith, who ran against Nick Smirk Sarwark for the chair of the Libertarian Party, and he is running for the chair of the Libertarian Party of California.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
It's going to be a good week.
So that's
going to be a good week.
Yeah, it is a good week.
And then next Tuesday, we are back here. Right here.
Right back here.
Right back here.
To talk for another 2.5 hours. Possibly. About
I remember at
stuff.
one point to a different host, I said, no, we're not going over an hour. Like week 1 with you, it was like, well, that's out the window.
We're still doing the intro in the first hour. Yeah. So we will be back here for quite a while.
So remember, everybody, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom. You can follow us on the Twitter at Muddied_Waters, and you can follow us on the Instagram at Muddied Waters of Freedom. Yeah. And on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Muddied Waters Media. And you can watch this show along with every other episode at muddiedwatersoffreedom.com.
muddiedwatersoffreedom.com. And so we will see you tomorrow night for my show, My Fellow Americans, and we will see you Thursday night for Writer's Block, and then we will see you on Tuesday night, right back here for the Muddied Waters of Freedom. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us. And where we're going...
We don't need roads.